Welcome to the Low-Carb MD podcast. No one is beyond help. No one is beyond hope.
As we have always said, we are bringing you medical information and cutting-edge science, but none of this is medical advice. Please seek out input from your own doctor. Hit record.
Hello and welcome to the Low Carb MD podcast. I'm Brian Lenskis and I'm here with my trusty partner Tro Kalasian. Tro, how you doing, man?
Listen, I'm so happy to be here today. We have a really special story. A man who has not only transformed his own life, he's transforming his family's life. He's transforming the life of his community, and somebody who had to go against the grain and work within the medical framework and was able to basically come out on top. So Yitzi, I'm very, very happy to have you on the podcast today. Very thankful that you're here sharing your story. I know that people will hear this story and it'll impact them. So I want to thank you for that.
Okay, I guess I'm here now. So just to say something first, before any of this, before I even Dr. Tro or anybody else, I was already listening to this podcast. So to be on this podcast after hearing the podcast, that's the first thing I gotta say. But where to begin?
Yeah, so hopefully the audio quality improves a little bit. But what we'd like to, because it's getting a little choppy, we know you're coming to us from kind of an area that's a little spotty. But can you start by telling us, what happened before, you decided you needed to make a lifestyle change? How did this happen? What happened? And, how did you get on the road of changing your lifestyle and making such a miraculous kind of transformation?
So I guess I'm no different than everyone else. That if you have trouble with weight, I've had it all the years. But in the last, I would say 10, 12 years, it compounded and compounded. I think about it now, the stuff that I could do being overweight became harder and harder, and you just stop doing things. It basically, like I said, it compounded, and and it's an uphill battle, to do everything. And, I was working hard to keep up with basic, day-to-day living, but what was supposed to be normal was a struggle. And I've gone to the doctor, I've been told, do different things, different diets. And every time, it works for a month or two, and I got to work harder to do the same thing for it to keep working, And what I mean working is just, surviving. It wasn't even like it's hard to describe it, but basically it's like you're swimming, uphill all the time. And to me, something happened. I remember the dates. I remember everything around that time. October 31st, 2018. That weekend, that last weekend in October, my family, brothers, sisters, parents, we all went together away. That was the last time that I was, being at that party, being around everyone. I said, I must do something. I came home and I said, I'm just, without knowing even what to do, how to do it, I said, I need to figure out what to do. There's no way that it continues like this. So from then, it literally took a week. I mean, I knew about all different diets. I knew about low carb. I knew about fasting a little bit. I knew about them. I knew about them like I knew about, counting calories. I knew about them like, liquid diets. I knew about that the same way. Everyone says it, or a lot of people say it. Dr. Jason Fung's book was an eye-opener for me. at least I understood one part that I think made it very easy for me, and I always use that when I go back. When I think about it, when I tell someone about it, I basically said to them, once I understood about the insulin thing, because I heard all different other reasons, I said, if every time I eat, I could decide to myself, do I want my insulin to go up right now? Do I need it to go up? And that's how I literally went in one day from I ate 2 meals that day. With it, 1 or 2 days later, I already moved to 1 meal a day. And, that meal was very big. It was pretty much only vegetables and some type of protein with it. And literally now we're almost 19, 20 months later. It's been the same since. I've done a couple extended fasts, but really it was discipline, and it wasn't even hard. That's the thing. It was not hard for me at all. I didn't feel it was hard. And people would see, like within 2-3 months, you could see a difference, And they would say, "Hey, eat something." This, I said, "Listen, I had my whole life. I always ate that. It didn't work for me." And for me, it wasn't even difficult. Really, really, that's why I'm even going on this podcast now, because I feel that it wasn't difficult and anyone can do it. It was so easy, and it was so hard when I wasn't doing it. That's why, that's the preface of what I did. Now, I guess you can ask me any other stuff,
Yeah.
how I figured it out.
Yeah, I wanna go back. I wanna go back for a second, Yitzi. So here you are, throughout the years, doctors have told you to eat less, move more. Maybe some mentioned, low fat. Maybe some mentioned low carb. Let's say 15 years ago, you had somebody told you got to read Jason Fung's book, and it's just, Brian, I know you're going to agree here. It's just another person who's had their life kind of changed by Jason Fung, because he does a great job of cutting through the BS and explaining things really easily. But let's say you got this book. Do you think that you would have made this miraculous change? And I want people to hear a little bit more about that change, but do you think it was the right message at the right time? Or if you knew all this information 20 years ago or 15 years ago, you would have never even come down this path?
So I think because it was so out of the box, when I read it, I absorbed it or looked at it like it was just one of those things. So if it was 10, 15 years ago, there was probably more popular stuff that everyone was doing or attempting to do that, I don't know, but I definitely know myself, after literally a few days, I knew that it worked for me. Like so many things, just the fact that I wasn't hungry. Other times when I would diet, I was hungry and I had to be disciplined. Now, listen, a lot of people say this, that, people that diet are from the most disciplined people. But there's how far can you be disciplined, and for how long, do you need to be disciplined for? So if it's always going to be a struggle, it's probably not the right thing to do. Diet-wise, I'm saying it has to be something that works for you. You know what I mean? Like if it works, then it's not a struggle. You might struggle once, at a party or this, but if you can do it day to day, it's got to be the one that, for me at least. For me, that's what I felt worked, told it to me.
Okay, so it's very interesting that you say that, Yitzi, because a lot of mainstream doctors say whatever diet you can sustain is the diet you should be on. Whatever diet you can adhere to is the diet you should be on. Now, I want to ask you a question. You said it was easy, quote unquote, it was easy. Can you talk about exactly what made it easy? So, a lot of times people tell us their hunger goes down. They get not hungry. So, but I don't want to put words into your mouth. What made it, you said it was easy. What made it easy for you?
So two things made it easier, I think. Number one, that when I understood that kind of, just to give an example, when somebody, invests in like a business or something, they want to make the best available choices that they can do. They're not gonna skimp on the materials or invest in a not as good computer or whatever whatever business it is in. And I looked at it, for myself. Okay, I need to do the best really for me. So let me see if everyone knows that, if you eat basically, fruits and vegetables, technically, clean, it's kind of the best things to eat. Maybe fruit now I know not as, there's, there's more to it, but the most natural and the most is probably the best. So let's start with that. Invest in yourself with the best kind of foods you have. So right away, this is people even that, you can look at anybody, you could see if people are eating healthier or not. So if you're already doing that, okay, so I'm investing the best in myself, the best kind of food that to the best of what I know, this is the best food for me. And literally you feel, and then now to make a choice when you come somewhere or you go somewhere and you look at it, you're like, I would never put, that leather, seat in my office. It doesn't look good. That food I would never now put in me because it's not what I do. I wouldn't want that in me. So once I was looking at things like that, it was very, very easy. And it helped me because I said, this is myself. No one else can decide for me or do it for me. So I really want to do the best, and it became very easy with that mindset, and I really, like I said before, it was October 2018. That was the last time I had pizza, and I never missed it since.
Can I ask, I got two questions for you because the listeners know that you've probably struggled, and I know personally you've struggled. We've talked about it, but tell people where you came, if you want to share the weight, your medical issues, and where you've come now. Do you mind telling people about that?
Okay, so to start, basically, I would say, I was at a weight that the doctor scale said over 400 pounds. It didn't even give me an exact number. The highest, and I'm saying this without, not barely anybody knows this, because if you see me, I'm a bigger guy or whatever it is. The doctor scale said over 400. You probably saw the records when we had them moved over to you, whatever. But at a scale that I had 428. And I don't know if that was the highest or not, but even if it's around the highest, that's what it was. If we go last week, it's about, I don't know, you could see now also, somewhere 242 or 240. So it's about 190 something pounds in about 19 and a half months. So, it's completely night and day. And people that I meet or didn't see, everyone asks me, did I get a surgery? How did I do it? And I want to just go back a little bit. That October 2018, the doctor told me that you have to get the surgery because, whatever you're doing over the last 10, 15 years, you obviously see it's not working. People were never, meant to grow that big and, live for the next, X amount of years. You have to do something, and he actually had me go to a nutritionist because in order to get the surgery, I had to start, planning and cooperating, meal planning, and those kind of things. So I literally left from that meeting saying, there's no way I'm going to do any of those things, and I need to figure out what to do. So sitting there at 400 plus pounds, I basically call it, I turned on the light or whatever you want to call it. I literally went home and told my wife that I am going to do this. And that's literally what happens.
So can you walk people through what happens over the next 2 years? It's going to be 2 years now. You've lost 190 pounds, just an astronomical weight loss by any means. Literally, I think probably in the top 0.001% in terms of weight loss through lifestyle measures. So you're like you're as top as it gets. So what did you do? How did you start? What were the main things you started doing? You mentioned vegetables and protein. You mentioned fasting, mainly time restriction. Can you talk about how your, what you learned along the way and what changed along the way?
So the first time, like I said, I came home. I said, I'm going to do what everyone agrees. We can load up on the vegetable side, freely. And the protein, I'm just going to eat whatever I can. I was going to do it really twice a day, but it took only 2-3 days, and I moved it to once a day. Like I felt, because when I ate the first meal, let's say I decide I'm going to eat, I don't know, let's say 12, 1 o'clock, and then again at 6, 7 o'clock, whatever it was. I felt after one day of eating the first time, I couldn't eat the second time. So, I kind of put them closer together. I maybe dabbled like salad one time and then protein, and then I just did everything once in the evening. So it kind of really was that from the beginning. Like within the first few days, I was over there. Now, in my life in general, I never really did breakfast. If I go back even a little more, I was never very particular of eating, but I can always eat. So it wasn't like I have to eat breakfast, I have to eat, in the afternoon, I need to eat again by something. No. Whenever there was food, I would eat. Now, there were times I could not eat the whole day and then pound the butt, at supper, whatever was available. Or, kind of in that sense. So I never really was rigid in the in eating. Well, if I ate, I never put a cap on it in any way. So going to this, I still had that I can, eat whatever when I eat, I eat. So I think that part that stayed with me probably helped me a little bit. That I didn't feel like, because I've done it before, just not with the right foods. But I've been in some type of, at least I was lax that some people say you have to eat, certain amount of times and, every 3 hours, every 4 hours, so I never was that disciplined over there, so probably helped me over here. And, so I basically started like that. And then, I said, okay, I'm eating pretty, once a day. And I did that for a month, 2 months, and the weight was coming off, and I literally felt better. Like, I'm still weighing 380 pounds, let's say 6 weeks. I lost, I think in the first month, about 40 pounds or 38 pounds. Just the first month. The second month, I probably lost another 25 pounds. After that weight loss, about close to 50 pounds, I felt probably a lot better than I looked. It's like, people see that you lost weight, but I felt, I can walk places, like things that I would like I had to make decisions. Could I walk here, go here, when? All those things became a lot easier. So, literally within a month, 6 weeks, completely different person. And I felt that happening every single day. I felt better. That's really what it is. Every day was better than the day before.
Hey, Yitzi, I have a question. So, you were talking about you just didn't have a desire to eat those kinds of foods anymore. How do you think willpower, a guy who loses 193 pounds, everyone says you just need willpower, but it sounds like something changed in you where it wasn't, you just saw it for what it was rather than saying, oh, I really want that bad, but I'm not going to have it. Does that make sense?
I would say like this. Like I looked at it, and the funny thing about food is, and this perspective I have now is different than what it was. But if you look at it, really everybody knows if something is good for you or not. It's not like it's a secret that this kind of candy is better or this kind of cake or this kind of donut. Everyone really knows what's good for you and what's not good for you. It's how comfortable you are with it, how much you want to get away from, how much you want to get away with. And what could you do? Like, other people will say, okay, I'll go to the gym for an extra hour, I'll eat the donut. And other people, are blessed that they can just eat the donut. But everybody knows that it's probably not good for you. So once in my mind I made up that I want to do only what's good for me, that's when I said, okay, that's it. This is what I do. You know, it's like a store. This is our policy. We don't let you in without a mask in today's days. I don't let that in to me anymore. That's all.
Yeah, so you just made up your mind and said, "That's it. I see." And that's a funny thing. That's what Tro and I are up against because when we tell people who are diabetic or metabolically really sick, you really got to cut that stuff out because it's a disaster. People say, "Well, everything in moderation," but some of us aren't very good at moderation. Just like you wouldn't tell an alcoholic just have one or two drinks because they have no control over that. So a lot of us who struggle with weight, we have to look at that and know ourselves and say, "Can I just have one cookie and then I won't have another one for a month, or if I have one, am I going to have 30 cookies?" Right? Have you, during this whole journey, have you had any relapses where you said, okay, going off the rails, as we say, or have you been pretty consistent since starting?
The only times that I did anything different is sometimes if I had a meeting or an event, I would just have my meal earlier in the day, or I would just have protein with them. Like they would have, like we went out, a couple guys, I would just eat some protein and then I would not eat the rest of the day. So like I really was able to hold it and, stay very, I'm going to say a little bit more. Basically, being Orthodox and Jewish, we already have a lot of discipline on food in our lives. We only eat certain stuff to begin with. So that concept of saying this no exists by us a lot more, let's say, than other people. So maybe I look at it and I said, now these foods are just not kosher for me anymore. So maybe that was able to help a little bit. But really, a month in, I also realized I don't need any of it anymore. Like it doesn't do anything for me.
So I want to talk about two things. One is it sounds like your appetite became so suppressed once you actually restricted these foods. A lot of times nutritionists and dietitians say you don't want to restrict any food groups because they fear limiting variety will cause an eating disorder. And yet here you are restricting things and it's like you have freedom for the first time in your life. You have this sense that like, oh my God, I'm not hungry. I can go days without eating. So can you talk to me? What would you say to those people who would say you're restricting food groups? And then can you also tie that into the cultural component here? Because a lot of times people come to me and say, I'm Orthodox or I have religious beliefs that say I have to eat a certain way. How were you able to address the community and the cultural aspect? I'm sure your wife and your kids were like, Dad, what are you doing? Eating only one meal. I'm sure your friends around you were saying, what is this that you're doing? So can you talk about these two issues? One, what would you say about restriction and what that led to from a nutrition dietary perspective? And then two, what did your family and what did your community say? Because a lot of times we hear people say, I just can't do that. that we don't do that in my culture?
So the first part you have to see. Let me just. Well, I'll go with the second one first. Basically, the community part is difficult in one sense that there's a standard or what everyone does now, but what everyone does, there's always people restricting anyway. People are doing all different kind of diets, but they're finding how to make it work. So that mentality we anyway kind of have. People are saying I'm gonna cut out the sugars or people are anyway doing stuff. So it's understood, and it's more understood when you see a bigger person doing it because at least he's working on it in some way. People say it's like the hardest to see people that are skinnier that are restricting and limiting. But now when I look at it, I say, well, that's how they're staying that way, and that's how they are that way. So why have to get somewhere where you need to fix it when you can plan and do it right, that you don't need to get to resort to having to do all those things. And then another thing is that I also realize literally day to day when I would eat this stuff that I felt better, and I would know I would know if based even on sometimes if I took out certain vegetables, I felt different. Or if I added more, if I ate more, I was able to feel it in myself. I became way more sensitive to this taste. Also, for example, I didn't say this, but I basically cut out all the drinks besides basically water and seltzer from day one. And that to me was like a very big step because someone that basically is dieting for years and years, the diet sodas were literally very high on that list. Like, I would think you could replace meals, but I see now that, I've heard and read and learned that it messes or it affects the appetite or whatever you want to call it. So right away when I did that, so I'm going to give an example. About a month in, I used to need to drink everything freezing cold. Like I was able to drink water at regular temperature. I just noticed that, and it was fine. And that's, I feel somehow, I don't know the science behind it, but the fact it's definitely tied into this somehow that and basically to get to my real point is when you were doing this, when you see how it works for you, I don't think you want to do something else anymore. Like if I was feeling weak and struggling in this, I probably wouldn't want to be doing this. And I felt like literally every day that I was doing this, I felt like I'm getting better and doing more. So why would I walk away from that? It's like if you're investing money in a stock and it keeps going up, you wouldn't stop doing that. You would do the same thing again and again and again because it's working. I literally felt it working in me.
Can I, Yitzi, I want to come back to the cultural component, because some of the Jewish holidays, they're, for example, there's matzah, or there's customary wine drinking, or, one of the biggest restrictions in the Jewish faith, dietary wise, is keeping kosher, not mixing dairy and meat, or, not eating bacon, right? What is more iconic of a keto diet than bacon, right? And bacon and butter, no less, right? Literally, so can you talk about how, was there any cultural pressure to eat a certain way, and how did you or, was it easy? Was it easy to do this, eating this way within the cultural restrictions that you may or may not have faced?
Okay, so the wine part, once a week, I do have a cup of wine. We do a ceremony, the whole family. I take a few ounces. That's my wine. So obviously I got, dry wine, whatever it was, but, that's the limit currently, I've never really been someone that drinks a lot anyway, so that part of the fabric, I didn't have like a pull or a need in that sense, but there are times that we drink in this, and I've done it a few times. Like I can count on my hand 4 or 5 times that we had an event, a party, a thing like that. I did drink, but I was, I didn't even feel bad when I did it. Like, if I go back a little bit, 4 or 5 years ago, we have a wedding, a party, or this, and people drink, not crazy amounts, but you can see people are drinking. And, I was, let's say, technically able to drink a lot. Not that, that I was, but I was able to. Now, when we went somewhere, a few shots, let's say, I didn't even feel it. Like, it didn't even affect me that I felt it. But I said to myself, I don't need it. I don't, and no one put it on me that I need to do it. So I think we're very, very, I think not only the Jews, but I think everyone is very understanding when someone's working on something. I think it's more upsetting when they see a person going back and eating and eating and eating and not doing something. So I think that people are very open to it. So just my thoughts. I don't know.
Yitzi, I went to where I grew up in Rockland County, there's a big Jewish community here. And I grew up eating latke, which is basically like hash browns. I grew up with matzah and matzo ball soup, all these carby things. Do you miss any of those things? Or
I honestly do not miss it. And I still see it almost every week. I'm saying, I see all the foods and I don't miss it.
We even have a recipe. I don't know if we ever sent it to you, but because I don't think you ever wanted it, we have a recipe for a low-carb challah bread. So have you ever made low-carb bread? I'm just curious, because I know it's another.
That's the thing. This whole process, I never did any of these, substitutes. I didn't replace any of these things. I didn't even do it. I never even thought to do it. I don't know why. I think I told you when I decided in my head to do it like this, I just said I don't need anything more than what I have. And it sounds very simple, but if someone has something that he's happy with, he doesn't need to continue looking, what else he can do or what more he can do with it. I was really very satisfied, and probably for the first time in years, at least, food-wise, than I've ever been.
Well, Yitzi, I have 2 questions for you. One is, when you were over 400 pounds, what was exercise like, and what's exercise like now? Is exercise a big part of your life?
So then the only exercise was literally walking to my car. So that was then. Now I'm saying right away, within a month or 2 in, I had an elliptical in my house all this time. But now I'll go on it every day, 45. I mean, if I can take a nice walk, I'll take a walk for a half hour, 40 minutes. I'll also go on the elliptical. I do I do different exercises with weights. I don't go to the gym and do it. And even when I thought I'm going to start doing it in February, this whole thing came. So that didn't even happen. The whole COVID and everything started literally when I was thinking that, maybe it's time I start and being more, but even without that, I literally, I go on the elliptical, I can go 45 minutes, an hour, and I could see, I see the timing on it, I could do it for longer, I could do it faster, I could push myself a lot more, stuff that I would never even think about a year and a half, whatever, 2 years ago, or whatever, 19, 20 months ago. Completely different. I can play basketball with my kids now, it's different. It's completely different. It's night and day.
It's enjoyable rather than being a torture, right? Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's not, it's like, but you don't even realize how trapped you are the first time, because you're so in it that, you almost assume this is how it is.
Yeah, and how was it when you first started eating this way, when your family and friends look at you or strangers saying, "Oh, no wonder you're heavy because you're eating like that." What was that ever a factor for you at the beginning?
Well, the first few weeks, no one even put two and two together. It literally took like 5-6 weeks. And then you could see, I lost already close to 50 pounds or whatever it was. People saw a difference. And also people realized, let's say we would get together, on weekends, we have like a smaller party in the synagogue. So there's always food after. So I stopped staying for that, or I would stay and not eat. So that's a little bit of an eye opener. And I would just tell people, listen, I'm not eating this. Is it, come on, it's good. I'm like, listen, you know me a month ago, whatever. I've had enough of this stuff in my mind. That's how I would just tell them I'm not missing it yet. If I feel like I forgot how it tastes, I'll get back to it. And nobody, and it kind of just, bounced off the wall, and that's where it ended. And then obviously 6 months in, 7 months in, people see it already. You can, they don't even think that I'm going to eat anything else when someone else has it. So that's,
Yeah, they just know you and say, okay, he's not going to eat it. Let's just, we won't even offer to him. And that makes that willpower thing a lot better. I think that's one thing. And one thing I'm going to ask you guys, Tro, because this is a phenomenon I'm noticing a lot. Yesterday, I had several patients come in for medical weight loss that we were talking, and all of them said, yeah, this last week I've been eating a ton of carbs and danishes and brownies and all this stuff that they love because they know they're coming to see me and they know that's going away. So like, I'm going to enjoy it now before it's kind of a funny thing. Tro, do you notice that, or people tell you that also?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think most people that are coming to see me, they're like, you know what? I don't want to. They know what they want to do, and I don't experience that. Occasionally with diets, people want to do that. They want to eat into this diet that they're going to do. They're going to be enduring some pain. The first thing I tell people is, look, I don't need you to be in pain. If you need something, we'll figure out a way to do it. We'll figure out a way to do it low carb. So you don't have to be in pain. You want to eat this stuff, eat it. But the ideal, I think, is exactly what Yitzi did. And Yitzi, I got to say, you're like a perfect example. It's like, look, get rid of that stuff. You don't need it. And don't let somebody convince you to do a little bit, or that it's, a little bit is okay, or moderation. Look, restriction helps some people. And, Yitzi is a perfect example of that. He's down 190 pounds by getting rid of that stuff, not by figuring out how he can cheat or bring it back in or bring it a little bit. So it's a power, I think. And another thing I want to show is, like, Yitzi, you clearly had both the discipline and the willpower. You needed a framework. Is that,
yes,
would you say
100%.
Yeah, I
100%.
think there's a lot of people like you that say, show me what to do, teach me the right thing, and let me do it. And I'm the people who I see don't succeed are the ones that say, oh, but I don't want to give up cookies. Oh, but at this, but because they have such a fondness and a love for that. When you say, look, that's it, I'm doing this thing. I have a guy yesterday, he accompanied his wife. He was just seeing if I was nuts or not, but I don't know what the final outcome in his brain was. But at the end, he signed it, goes, I need this more than my wife. I'm all in. What do I got to do? Help me. And we had a great discussion, and he's so encouraged because he's done it all. Like we've all done. I tried Metafast, same story, Tro, again. Metafast, lose 100 pounds, gains back 130. He does this diet and all these things where he was in starvation mode. And when I told him, hey, look, like what you say, Tro, eat whenever you're hungry in this first month, we'll tailor it and get it figured out. He almost started crying because he goes, oh my gosh, I was starving myself and I was miserable. And I was, it's like Paulo, in the same story. I said, please listen to Paulo's story because you'll identify. So it's guys like you who just go all in are the ones, because a lot of people who I see struggle are saying, okay, I want to have low carb brownies, cookies, donuts, and all this stuff. And they, like you said, hey, look, I just walked away from those foods and this is what I'm doing. And look at what you're accomplishing.
Yitzi, I'm gonna put it back to you with another question here. What can you talk about? I know when somebody loses that amount of weight, they have an influence on their family. They have an influence on their community, their friends. People are going to ask them questions. How did you do it? What did you do? Can you talk a little bit about Has any of what you've done in your own life seeped out into your family, into your, maybe extended family, community, friends? Can you talk about that?
So first of all, obviously people are asking. First of all, like I said before, everyone asks me, that a casual acquaintance or people that I know ask me, if I got the surgery, what did I do, But the people that knew me throughout or are closer to me and knew what was going on, they were constantly asking me, okay, in the beginning they would say like, when are you going to stop? When are you going to go back to normal? And to me, it was like, I'm the normal one. When are you guys going to, come around to what's normal? But that was in my head. I didn't tell this to them. I said, listen, I do what
Amen.
works.
Amen. Definitely. I agree. 100%.
So like now, let's say my sister would invite us to come eat by her. In the beginning, I would send up my own food because, we're Jewish. So, I would send my own, I would prepare my whole salad before, bring it there the day before, and then we would eat by that. Or if I'd go to my parents, they already knew that I'm bringing that. Or they would ask me for what I eat. When I gave them my list of vegetables, they just said, okay, bring your own. So it's basically, and not only that, they, like, for example, a lot of people that want to do it, it still sounds so foreign to them that, like, even my parents, I will tell them, they want to, they want to do this, but it's still like to eat only once or twice a day, and not all, and take out all these things, and the fasting part, but they're very careful in what they eat, but they don't. What they're careful in is not necessarily the foods that that are either the most satisfying that you don't need to eat again. You can, like, I'm not careful in when I eat in my whatever's in my box. I'm not careful with. I eat and eat until I'm done eating, and that's it. And I know I don't need to worry about it. Everything that I let into on my plate, I'm okay with in any quantity. I'm not, you know what I mean? So I don't feel like I'm limiting myself. I just, it's like when there are potholes in the street, you just don't step in them. I don't put them. I don't go in that way. I just, and I keep saying it, but it's a lot easier when there's a light telling you the path to go on than figuring it all out. And that's what I think you guys. I'm even coming on here because you guys were the light, Dr. Fung, but there was a light telling me this is how to do it. Fast over here, limit this, do this, don't do this, and that's it. Don't go out in the rain without an umbrella. I'm saying, like, do not go on, don't put yourself in a place where you're gonna get stuck. And it's very easy to do. And what I figured out as well with the fasting, when I started doing the fasting on top of it, is that if it doesn't work out for you, just don't eat that day. It was so eye-opening that, and you're perfectly fine. I don't feel hungry. It was just like, wow. If I go away for a day or two in the past, I traveled for work. I always had to prepare food, and it was even harder because I need, kosher food and this. Now I go somewhere, I don't need to take anything. I just go, and then I come back, and then that's it. It became easier, not harder, in that sense.
Yeah, people don't realize their energy gets better. Like for me, I just mostly fast during the day and it's easy. So a lot of people, it's really hard to imagine that at the beginning. And then after time, they say, oh yeah, I didn't eat lunch yesterday. It's like not even they're trying. They just said, oh, I forgot. I was like, they weren't hungry. There was no hunger signals to tell them they should be hungry. And once they change that habit, they go, oh, this is easy, rather than being stressed out right from the beginning. And Itzi, I have a question. Did your diet change over time? Like, do you eat differently now than you did when you first started this journey? And by the way, how long has this journey been again, so people understand?
Since November 1st, 2018.
All right. And how has your diet changed since then?
I think the amount has gone down. the amount of, let's say, my salad, I'm going to throw a number, was, let's say, 2.5 pounds of vegetables or something like that. It's probably a third less. Not and let's say it was, I don't know, let's say 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of protein or meat, let's say, it's probably a third less. But that's really, kind of the only, and I mean, I eat nuts sometimes. Again, I don't eat them a lot. I eat them every now and then, like maybe a cup worth of all different, like, we have like mixed nuts. I'll take 5 of every one or something. That's pretty much, it's almost like it became boring, but if it works, and also, again, I'll have dark chocolates only because people tell me it's healthy and it's good, so I take every now and then. Like a bar is good for a week, and that's with dividing it with my kids. So like very minimal, and I don't miss it. I don't need it. I'll just take it because whatever. I don't really. It became so easy and so simple. That's why I'm even going out and telling, because when people see that, hey, you saw me 2 years ago and you see me now, and I'm telling you, it was hard, to do anything, and now it's hard. Now it's easy to do everything. It's like a completely different thing.
Yitzi, what does your family say? What do your children say? What does your wife say? What do your friends say? What do they all say?
Okay, so let's start.
I mean, they must be
the
proud
family,
of you, right?
In the family, everyone was very, I'm saying family, that means wife, kids, siblings. Everyone was just happy that I'm doing anything. So, good. Now, it is still foreign to them. When I started it originally, I didn't even really tell them what I was doing. This is what I'm doing. And obviously 3 weeks, a month in, people are seeing results, you know, especially the family is seeing results because they see me every week, every day, every other day, so they see a difference. And they also see I would come in, I'm not eating what they're eating anymore. Or I didn't, and I just say I'm being careful or this. I didn't even tell them yet that I only ate once a day and I'm not doing, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't even, like, they were just happy to see what I'm doing. Once I saw the results and how I felt to myself, I was way more confident to tell them, hey, this is, call it the science behind it, or this is the reasoning, this is what I'm doing, so, oh, wait, let me try a little bit, let me do some, so now they want to know more. But if I would just come in and say, okay, you can only eat once a day and you have to fast and this, they would just run away from that. But if they saw how it was progressing and happening, they kind of lived it, seeing it, and they're like, hey, it works. It didn't look so difficult. It's not so foreign to them. And I'll be honest, my wife was very nervous about, because I would, in the beginning, let's say, I'm fasting, so I would skip one meal. A month later, I did it twice. 3 months, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, till I did it basically for a week in the beginning. And then after I did that week fast, I didn't do it for a while. The last time I did a week fast was last year in May of 2019. Like a month later, I went back. My wife was very nervous throughout, and I'm telling her, look, you can go on YouTube, you can see all these people, they do it, and it's okay, and this. I felt fine doing it. Really was a lot, after 2 days, it really was downhill to do it. Like, it felt like I don't need to do any more than this. But again, they were nervous. She was nervous. So I said, I'm going to find the doctor, that's okay with this. That's how I even got to Joe. Because I didn't, I'm going all over the place, but I'll just go back. Basically, I was looking for a doctor in my area. I was on low carb or whatever, on diet doctor. It might have been on it's now the fasting method, but there was another name for it before. obesity, whatever it was. So they had like low carb. You put in a zip code, they have people around you. And Joe was one of those people. I didn't even realize that he was the podcast I was listening to at the time. Because it said like Dr. Khalili, and like I didn't even put it, I hope I pronounced it right. I didn't even realize that he was the same guy. So, but between then and getting there, I put it together. But so it really, everybody, you know, everybody was excited at the end when I was doing it and it was working. Everyone became way more like, man, you did it for a week, unbelievable, or whatever it was. Very, very supportive. At least, you know, immediate family and friends, you know, everyone understood it. And I've, you know, that's how basically, you know, I'm doing it very quickly, but that took 6-7 months for what I just told you to happen.
Yitzchok, I'm curious, over all this time, have you noticed any other health benefits as far as like loud snoring or, you know, mood, energy, stress management, any of those things that you've noticed too with this significant weight loss that you've had?
So, number one, energy is you know, way up there. You know, as good as, you know, I'll go back 10, 15 years to say that if it was even on the level, you know, clarity, you know, alertness, a lot of things, you know. Like I never heard the term brain fog often, but I definitely don't, you know, I'm definitely, you know, I would think, I always thought I'm on the ball anyway, you know, I'm going to toot my own horn, but I'm saying on the things that I'm involved in, I thought I was, you know, operating, you know, to the best of my ability. Now I'm looking a year later, the same exact things, you know, snap my fingers, but, you know, to be on it or even ahead of it, you know, that's something you only have, you don't even notice that you're missing it, you know, and that's how far I was, let's say, from optimal energy and, you know, mental clarity and things like that. You know, when you're ready to give up or ready to get away with just to get by the day, to now, what more could I do? What am I looking to, you know, what else could I do? You know, what else? I'm now looking for more things that I could do. Like I'm ready to take on a lot more than I was ever in the past. So, you know, that part, I'm so, how do you call it? I'm so grateful to see that, you know, because sometimes you take it for granted on both sides. Like, okay, this is what it is. But you can also say, hey, now I have an opportunity. I can do, you know, a lot more things. So, you know, and when you limit, when you when you do this kind of eating and fasting, you have a lot more time anyway, you know, to do more things. So it's like a win-win. Every step of the way was a win-win.
So now when you look back, I mean, one thing is, what would you say now is the biggest benefit, the thing you say, I'm so glad I did this for, is there a certain thing in your life, whether it's self-esteem or relationship with your wife or being able to do more things, is there anything that stands out you say, wow, this is one thing that really, really improved?
Okay, so let me also go back a little bit. No, well, first of all, quality of sleep completely improved. You know, you asked before about health or underlying things. So I had sleep apnea. You know, now I don't know. You know, I haven't gotten tested again, but I know if I don't, I can sleep through the whole night, no problems at all. I did like a at-home test right before, you know, COVID. So, you know, I don't know if you got the results or yet or not, but they basically said that I don't really need it anymore, but they want to do another test just to confirm, you know, because I had it so bad before. So, but that never happened yet because, you know.
Yitzi, can you speak up just a little bit here? You're coming in a little bit low on my end.
Okay, I'll go back. I'll just go back to the beginning. Basically, you said about underlying health concerns. So I had sleep apnea already for like, I don't know, 8, 9 years already before. I feel now, you know, that I probably don't have it anymore. That's number one, because I could sleep through the whole night. And when I had it, I would wake up every 2 hours, 3 hours. So I never had that full sleep like I can have now. So that's number one. Number two, just, if my parents lived, let's say, in an apartment building on the third floor. 2 years ago, if I had to huff up those steps, if I had to get up there, I'd already be breathing heavy. My feet would hurt. For something that's literally supposed to be a day-to-day task. Like, it used to be when I was younger, lived in that building, we forgot something, I ran down the stairs, came back up, like, that was a normal thing. Now it became like, oh, what am I going to do? I have to get up there, and then, so in just little day-to-day stuff that you take for granted, you lose out on, and you accept it. That was the sad part. Is like you live in it, and you don't even realize how bad it was. So I don't know if I went off the topic.
No, I love it. I love
No,
it.
that's it.
One last question, because we ran out of time. We could talk to you for 10 hours. My question is, what advice would you give that person who's over 400 pounds, who's kind of been through everything and has struggled, and they're at the end of their rope? What would you tell that person to help get them on path? What do you think is the most important thing?
So the first thing is, I at least in myself, and True knows that I've told people to go to him because, and my wife also always told me this, that the reason you can do this is because you decided that you're going to do this. So the first thing is that me or the person has to make that, he has to be decisive and say, this is what I'm going, I need to do this. I need to, if you can get to 400 pounds, you can unget 400 pounds. You have those powers in you. You can do it. And no one said it's going to be easy, or no one said it's going to be difficult. It didn't take you, you didn't snap your fingers and get to 400 pounds. You put a lot of eating into it, spent a lot of money to do it, didn't sleep a lot of nights to do it. Whatever it is, you invested to get to 400 pounds. There might not have been good investments, and might not have been good choices and things like that, but that's something you were able to do for the good or the bad. You have the same exact abilities to undo that and do it the other way. And you have the experience of what got you there to actually say, hey, that didn't work. You know how bad it was that time. You know what it did to me. You have the 20/20 hindsight to look back and find a way backwards. Find a way down the path. That's really how I look at it. That, if you were able to do it like that, you can definitely, rebuild it or undo it, whatever you want to call it. But it's in you. You can invest in yourself. And it's not like, you can tell someone to eat instead of you healthy, or, these are all the things. Just like someone else can't eat the food for you to gain weight, they can't uneat it for you not to gain the weight. You really need to do that on your own, by yourself, for yourself. Now, yes, you can use family and kids and all different things to motivate you, but I really think once in your mind you put yourself, this is what I can do, you can do it. I'm telling you, you can. I don't know, Joe, did I ever give you the photos of me before? If you would see, I'll send them to you. But literally night and day, and it's, look, I did both things. I got that big, and I got that, I became the size I am now. So the same person did both. So that means the same person, not me, can also do both.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out there, Yitzi, but I'm going to tell you, hopefully Jack can salvage some of that, because I know it's gold. Yitzi, I'm going to.
Can I say it again?
No, I think that's all right, Brian. I know.
I think we're good. Jack, you can get this out.
People are gonna listen to this story, and I think it's gonna move them, Yitzi. And I really thank you for coming on and sharing this.
I want to say the last part one more time, because I don't know what you heard and what you didn't, but I felt that was the best for people to hear again. For someone to hear, I think that was important.
Okay, go for it.
Try to speak into the mic, or maybe take it off the headset, or because it's cutting in and out. But go for it, Jack. Maybe you can edit this part out.
Okay, so basically, what I would tell somebody else is that, well, I'll go back a little bit, but basically, this is something that my wife told me at the time, or everyone tells you that you have to make the decision to do it, and then you can do everything. So I always said that, easy for you to say do it or don't do it, but when you make that decision, just like you got to 400 plus pounds, you did it by investing in yourself, eating a lot, not sleeping, not exercising. You have to, the same, those decisions, they might not have been, they might have been subconscious decisions, but you made those. You have to make the same decisions again, how to undo it. And literally, you're doing it to yourself. And you have the 20/20 hindsight of looking all those things that what not to do. So you're a little bit ahead. If someone had to start today, you at least know those things don't work. And then you invest in yourself. Every time you eat better, every time you sleep better, every time you exercise, you're literally undoing years and years. It took you, 10 years or 15 years to gain the weight. You can undo it, in months and years. So, that's a good thing. So that's how I just want to make that clear.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. This is all really important information, and I think you're going to touch a lot of lives. And thank you for coming on, sharing your story. Tro, thanks for all the hard work you're doing. And, I'm in awe of what you're accomplishing on that other coast. And, I'm just honored to be a part of this, because we're all on a learning adventure, and you've taught us a lot of stuff today. So greatly appreciate your input and your experience. Tro, close us, man.
Listen, Yitzi, so happy you made it on. Just keep doing what you're doing. Amazing work, an astronomical amount of achievement, 190 pounds lost. I know affecting a family, affecting community, and I just wish you nothing but the best. And thank you for sharing your story. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up.
Hello?
Yeah,
Done?
we're gonna wrap it.
That's it? No, okay. Thank you guys. And I don't know how to say this, but I'm telling you, I believe that hearing you guys and other people, I think just knowing about this is a big deal. Just it's not so, it doesn't seem so foreign to everybody anymore. That's why I feel like it's just got it. If you have a product, it's worth advertising. It's worth putting it out there. You guys have the right product. So.
Man, thank you so much. Thanks for your support and just for getting the message out. And we hope other people see it the same way. We really are invested in this, and this is our passion and we love it. So thank you, and thank you for joining us. And everyone, thank you. I know we went a little long, but thank you for joining us. This is going to touch you. It's going to help you. You're going to be able to help some family members and friends, and have a great day. And thank you for your support of our podcast.
You're welcome.